Hi everyone, and welcome to this introduction to fundamental movement patterns. In this first in a new series of videos aimed at upskilling you, the coach, on all things related to dryland training, I'll be stripping things down to the basics regarding how the body moves, and I see this as a great start for us. Firstly, I'd like to ask you a question though. When your swimmers are out of the pool, are they actually training to swim faster? Or are they just ticking that dryland box? You see, if your land-based training isn't built around a handful of fundamental movement patterns, there's a good chance that you're leaving speed and power and injury prevention on the table. Now, what I won't be doing in this video today is going through detailed coaching points for every exercise within each movement pattern. We'll save that for another day. Instead, in this video, I'm going to provide you with an introduction to 6 core movement patterns that every swimmer, whether it be age group through to elite, should be training outside the pool. And we'll touch on how they translate to better performance in the water too. First up, the squat. This one's foundational for lower body strength, but also for body control, ankle mobility and hip power. Think of starts off the blocks and turns at the wall. Explosiveness actually comes from the legs. Squats work through movements about 3 major lower body joints. That's the ankle, the knee and the hip, and work the quads, hamstrings and glutes primarily, amongst others of course. Thankfully, swimmers don't need to max out their back squat. In fact, controlled goblet squats, tempo work and body weight progressions and regressions might be all that swimmers require. Here we need to focus on depth, knee alignment and trunk stability. Next is the hip hinge. Think Romanian deadlifts, hip thrusts, or even a well-executed kettlebell swing. This is how we target the posterior chain. That's the glutes, hamstrings, and lower back. All critical for powerful dolphin kicks, undulation, and streamline holding. The hinge is a tricky one for many beginners to master, with excessive spinal flexion often becoming an issue. But this can be dealt with through intelligent coaching, with cues and thoughtful progressions and regressions. This family of exercises can benefit basically anybody. Just watch out for swimmers who squat their hinges though. So a good hinge needs to be pushing the hips back and keeping a neutral spine and loading the back of the legs. Number 3, lunges and single leg work. On land, training single leg control improves balance, symmetry and injury resilience, especially around the knees and the hips, which we know are common sites for both chronic and acute injuries. In fact, a cool training effect known as the bilateral deficit often presents with single leg exercises. That's where the sum of the strength gains working across each side individually exceeds that of the strength gained by doing bilateral work. A good example here is when we see a single leg press weight exceeding 50% of the weight an athlete can use with both legs. So with that said, try Bulgarian split squats, step-ups, lateral lunges, that kind of thing. They challenge stability and build functional leg strength that transfers to powerful push-offs and efficient core control. On to pushing movements now, both horizontal and vertical. Press-ups are a staple. They build shoulder control, scapular stability and core engagement, all of which matter for freestyle and butterfly mechanics. For vertical presses, you might need to go lighter as swimmers often have shoulder mobility constraints, so dumbbell presses, landmine presses, or resistance band options might be safer in some cases. Train horizontally and vertically to ensure a good balance of strength gains across muscle groups though, and remember that technique is always needs to come first. Poor pressing habits can aggravate shoulder injuries that are already under lots of stress in the pool anyway. Then we've got pulling movements, and this one's a huge one obviously. Strong, well-balanced upper backs are a swimmer's secret weapon. They stabilise the shoulders and improve posture and support efficient arm recovery. Much like with the upper body pushes, I do like to use a combination of both horizontal and vertical pulls. TRX rows or banded rows are great here if your athletes are strong enough, and chin-up variations are great too. Without going into too much programming detail here, what I will say is that the more advanced the athlete, the more pulling they should be doing in comparison to pushing. That might look like double the amount of pulling, or maybe even more for elite swimmers. And make sure you don't forget accessory work. I'm talking band pull-aparts and scapular retraction exercises, things like that. Number 6 is loaded carries. Swimming's a sport of postural endurance. Carries teach core control, grip strength and upper body integrity, all while moving under load. So we need to start simple with farmers walks, Dumbbells and kettlebells can be used here, and then progress to asymmetrical versions like suitcase carries to challenge the core even more. And this isn't just about strength work, it's a way to essentially link the upper body and the lower body under fatigue, just like in a race situation. And finally, I'm going to give you an optional but highly valuable bonus, which is isolated core work, including everything from bracing in plank positions to lateral flexion to rotational work and anti-rotational work. Now, if you've hit all of the above movement patterns, you'll certainly have worked the core quite a lot anyway, which is why in my mind, this is more of a bonus than anything. And swimming involves constant trunk rotation, especially in freestyle and backstroke. But equally important is actually controlling that rotation, which is where things like pull-off presses and band-resisted holds come in. And we can add rotational medicine ball throws and wood choppers to improve the transfer of power from the hands to the hips to the hands. And when it comes to things like planks and sit-ups and crunches and all other core exercises, as long as they're done safely and not overused, they're all fine to include if you've got the time. This extra work basically ties everything else together. Right, let's recap the 6 key patterns. We've got the squat, hinge, lunge, push, pull, and carry. And then the bonus core work. If your dryland training covers these, you're likely building strong, athletic, and injury-resilient swimmers anyway. If not, it might be time to rethink your program. And the great thing here is that, let's face it, a lot of the swimmers that you'll be coaching right now won't end up being in the sport forever, and therefore ensuring that we're working the whole body, that's going to give us the confidence that we're building transferable strength, mobility, fitness, and everything else that's going to serve these individuals in all other areas of their lives. Now, dryland isn't something we just do. When it's built around these basic principles, it becomes a real weapon. So thank you for watching, and keep building better athletes, not just better swimmers.